Okay.
She's my pride and joy. She's my sweet little baby. I'm a little lover boy. Oh, yeah. How about that Texas blues? Oh,
Rock and roll.
My
Wow.
memory.
we love tributes. We love tributes to Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah, because you
Makes
guys,
you think you're
fools
back
are wearing hats.
Well, we feel like we're hanging out at
Boy, that's-
Antone's in Austin, you know,
Yeah.
listening to some blues.
I guess majority rules. You guys are all in Texas. Mark and I are the only ones who aren't.
I take Texas with me wherever I am. So
Yeah.
Are you at
so-
home, Rob? Are you in
What?
Seattle? Are you
I'm
in
at home. Yeah. So I'm about as far away from Texas as you can be, even though Mark thinks he's further away. Some people will get that message. Anyway.
Well, hey, it's good to see some familiar faces. So, Andreea, thanks for joining us this week. And Stephanie, our lovely Stephanie, she's back.
Howdy from Bandera, Texas.
Yeah.
Cowboy capital of the world.
Yes. It doesn't get more country cowboy than Bandera, Texas.
I mean, literally on the weekend, they cater to that theme because they have the steer out you can go take pictures with. Sometimes they'll have cattle drives and then they have horses and they'll have live shootouts on Main Street. So yeah, they really I usually avoid it on the weekend.
Did you just say they have live shootouts on Main Street?
Yes, but hey.
Yeah.
That's where the decline in population is coming from.
They're shooting blanks. They're shooting blanks.
Oh, my bad. I accidentally put the wrong kind in this gun today. Sorry.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
That's crazy. So
Man, I need to get down to Bandera. It's been too long.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. I want to go cut some cattle.
This week, huh?
Okay.
What was that?
My screen just froze.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Because you're in Texas. That's how they do wireless and broadband out there.
Fort Worth. Dallas Fort Worth. Yeah.
Well, you look fine. You look fine. I just want to draw.
Yeah, it looks okay to us.
The beautiful molding in your library. What is that? I mean, it's just incredible. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's unusual.
Yeah.
Maybe your computer's rebooting on you after doing Windows Update or something, and that's why you're free.
Yeah. So we had this was a bedroom when we moved in, but we had it redone, custom made, and my husband project managed.
Wow.
Awesome.
Well, he's an amazing
Very nice.
project manager. It's beautiful.
So you're coming to us from Big D, aren't you?
As in Dallas, not Deutschland.
Not Deutschland. No, right. Dallas is bigger than Deutschland, so I think.
I was in Deutschland for a month. Yes.
Yeah, I saw your pictures. They look great.
Oh,
Yes,
nice.
and also today, as I was trying to connect to Zoom for this call, I kept asking myself where the Zoom meetings, because that's what the Germans call it, where the Zoom meeting data is, and then I laughed at myself.
Ah,
Zoom, right?
so you had to turn off the German brain for a minute there.
We're on Zoom now.
Boom. Yes.
Not that I speak fluently, but that's what they said all the time. Like, oh yeah, let's do a Zoom call.
Why not?
Oh, that's funny.
That's awesome. Wow. What are we talking about today?
I think we're going to talk about NB-IoT and maybe that article that I just went ballistic. I mean,
Yes.
Andreea, you sent that over to us, and you thought it was an interesting article, and apparently so did a ton of other people. So, I think there was a lot in that article to talk about, in terms of written and unwritten implications the IoT universe, right?
I didn't get a chance to read it. Maybe someone give us a full little Cliff Notes version of what it was about.
Yeah, well, see, Andreea started this, so you're going to give us the lowdown, and I can tell that she's like looking up the article.
Well, it's a short article, right? It's and where was it? Where was it published? Enterprise
IoT.
IoT, yeah, I did see where it's.
Yeah. So, the title was "No One is Making Money in China."
NB-IoT.
In the NB-IoT, yeah. And so the
Surprise.
NB-IoT, and this was, this was something.
It was almost like a duh, kind of thing.
Yeah, the person quoted is the CTO of Nordic Semiconductor,
right?
In Eagle Nielsen.
Yeah.
So the article talked about the fact that anecdotally, the NB-IoT market, and 95% of that is in China.
Yeah.
And then the profits, are zero or close to zero.
Right.
He talked about the fact that, Western companies can't compete that way. You cannot do that as a publicly traded company, which is nothing new, right? So in a way, when I saw your note last night about let's have this call, I started wondering, why do people pick up on this so much? And
right.
it's a really short article, and I read it 2-3 times because I was seeing things that were not written. To your point.
Yeah.
I guess the question is, who is it when you say nobody's making money on NB-IoT? Who is the article referring to specifically? Do you know?
Well, he was referring to China, but it was really loose, right? When he said, he's talking about whoever participates in the China market in Narrowband IoT.
Yeah, well, they make modules, and apparently, there's no profit in it. And what China's done is they've standardized the NB-IoT module specifications and requirements. So they basically just standardized the endpoints, right? And then how you connect to the network. And so there's little differentiation. I mean, they've literally made NB-IoT dirt ass cheap, which is, that's kind of, as an end user, that's kind of what you want, right?
Exactly.
And so what I thought was really funny about and why I thought this was really interesting article is because people were freaking out that there's zero profits. And it's like, well, yeah, if you just look at the connectivity module, that's not where the profit lies. And there were some comments on the thread that for the post that I put out there, where people were suggesting that the profits are, they're downstream, which is, it makes sense, but it's almost like, hey, come on. Nelson also says it's interesting. There's like a little caption below his photo here. It says the Chinese government strategy with NB-IoT has played out as a race to the bottom. But quite honestly, this kind of IoT is a race to the IoT is a race to the bottom, and the thing is that the technology constantly refreshes what that bottom is. Right. And then that's how things get extended out into the extreme, economically and physically constrained environments. Right. And so, one of the ways to really look at what the Chinese are doing here, and there's a number of reasons why they're promoting NB-IoT aside from, it being sort of this part of the whole 3GPP, mobile wireless collection of stuff, moving out, it's too early in the morning. So like I said, it's a race to the bottom. Oh my God, I'm losing it here. Too much.
That's okay.
Too many webinars.
That's okay. But
when
I think of Narrowband, I'll pick it up just for.
Please do, because I just lost it.
Right, while you take a sip of something. So, if you think of narrowband IoT, I mean, that was look at it, it's working in the guard band, in the band that's kind of wasted, right? It's a band that's, like the remnants when you cut to make clothes, right? It's operated there. It has a high latency,
Yeah.
Right.
So it's got to, and it's stationary. So it's got to be dirt cheap, right?
Right.
And there are other technologies that are, in order for the technologies to be able to, get money for the technologies, and Narrowband IoT has to be dirt cheap, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the point, right?
Huh.
Yeah.
And so I guess the question is, does it matter, or who's supposed to be making money? Like in the case of China, the whole thing may be 100% by design. Like that's what they want it to be.
Exactly.
For utilities.
Exactly.
It's actually fulfilling its exact mission. And
Right.
people.
Yeah, exactly. Because my point was going to be that it ends up being an investment because they're looking at broader applications for what NB-IoT can do as a cellular technology and as part of the whole 3GPP under the 3GPP umbrella. And there's some folks who sit there and say, well, it's not really 5G because it was it was part of, I think it was release 14 or 13 or something like that. And so they call it's like a 4G era technology, but it doesn't matter because we're evolving it.
Right.
3GPP is evolving it through the 5G era. And the other thing is that NB-IoT is a contribution by Huawei. It's a Chinese contribution, so they have this vested interest in making sure that it has legs. And so China is the perfect test bed and incubation market for NB-IoT. And, when you blend in things like, the Digital Silk Road and there are all these initiatives that they have to build out their digital economy and extend it through the Belt and Road initiatives, right? They have a huge blueprint. They have a huge field to play with. With NB-IoT. And one of the things that I think is really interesting is how Huawei is pushing this idea of 5.5G, which, Ken who is one of the rotating chairmen, just presented last night at Huawei's mobile broadband forum. There's this concept of making it more reliable, right? More reliable, but then there's the device end of things where, this whole argument that we're having right now about LoRa being more energy efficient or having better range, that whole equation can change in 5G advanced, right? And I think that's one of the agendas that the Chinese are pushing in terms of influencing the evolution of 5G, because now we're all talking about 6G. It's like focus on 5G advanced. Get that crap right, because right now all the industrial stuff, none of it has hit the pavement yet, and it's too early to be talking about 6G when we haven't even properly put together an agenda to make 5G work for the B2B scenarios, right? And so, that one simple article has a lot of stuff packed into it, and that's why I thought it was so interesting and why it's so wonderful you shared it, Andreea, and brought it up. And I'm going to shut up.
Andreea, you dropped a technical word on our audience that we might need to. You said the guard band. Not everybody might know what that means. Is that like SMS?
Like voodoo.
So the guard band is part of the spectrum that's not used for cellular communication, right? Part of, if you have as an operator, if you have a certain amount of spectrum, there are parts of that they're not used.
Yeah. It basically, correct me if I'm wrong, it basically ensures that there's no interference between different spectrum.
That's purpose. Yeah, different channels. Yeah.
Channels. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah. So it's like
it looks to me that on this gold rush of IoT, the winners are always the same, right? Looks to me like in Helium, in TTN, in NB-IoT, there are always more or less the same winners, no? The module manufacturers, the hotspots manufacturers. But then after that, it's a few business for other companies. What do you think? It's like the gold rush, right? That in theory, all the ecosystem was there set up, but at the end, the winners were just 2 or 3 in the ecosystem.
Well, I mean, think about it, man. What is the whole helium thing about? Is like, can we make really crappy economics work out? And then come up with some finance.
It's just to create a network. To create the network. I mean, if we speak technically speaking, it's just to create a network. So to create a network, you need to deploy hotspots or gateways or whatever you want to call them, or base stations. Same with Sigfox happened some years ago. Same with TTN. Same with NB-IoT. Well, Huawei, as Rob described very well. So I think that movement was a really smart Huawei point to get like a cross-sell or an upsell of their base stations of 4G, for example. That was a good movement. So they already sold the base stations, but then they created this just to make an upsell of their 4G base stations that were already deployed. And just with a firmware upgrade on the base stations, they could provide NB-IoT to the Huawei base station. So that was, for me, a really smart movement.
Yeah.
But out of these, I don't have more experience with that. Never got NB-IoT on my devices.
You might not for a while, right? We'll see.
What country are you in, Marc?
I'm based in Barcelona, in Spain.
Oh, right.
And it should be, there should be like Vodafone having plenty of NB-IoT here. But I tested very little with few devices. So I never got like NB-IoT coverage in Barcelona. But I mean, I didn't test a lot to put...
But when I read this article, so I can be wrong here, of course. What I was picturing is this huge China, right? And then NB-IoT being used for stationary purposes, and China, having a huge need for stationary applications in terms of state-operated utilities, state-operated parking lots, right? So it's got to be dirt cheap, and to me it's part of the brick and mortar, right? What you use to build your roads in China or your parking lots in China or whatever, right? That's that module. This is how I see the module, right? And the article was not really talking about the whole chain, operators and all that, but it said nobody's making money. So I kind of assumed that operators are not making money either, but that's okay in China, right? Not that I'm an expert in China, but it just seems okay for that scale and for the purpose of that place. The question here is how do we unpack this so that we draw conclusions that can serve us here in the US, in Europe, and Canada, and so on.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
let's unpack it. I think Stephanie should unpack it because
she's wearing the biggest hat.
Because she lives in Texas.
Right.
Exactly.
How many gallons is that thing, by the way?
10 gallon.
10 gallon hat.
No, I think especially in China that, the connectivity piece is really the table stakes. I mean, we saw that with just the smartphone connectivity here in the States. It's like they're not making money on that. They're looking for other ways to make money, and they thought IoT was going to be that answer. But again, what do the operators really rely on is their connectivity assets. And, the network equipment providers, those guys make money. The tower providers, those guys make money as we keep upgrading. We're trying to speed up. Now we're moving to 6G. But it's still utility, and even more so the case in China. But, I wrote an article, I guess, a few weeks ago. I don't know when it's going to come out, around smart cities and this new infrastructure funding and how they will be, in the U.S. especially, they're going to be really leveraging that infrastructure funding for broadband connectivity, for really investing in cities' infrastructure when it comes to connectivity. And in those cases, they may be able to add on new layers of services and things that might make some companies money, but it's not the connectivity piece that is going to make them money. That's table stakes. It's like, we have to have the infrastructure. What is it that Bill Pous said? How can we scale IoT? Well, first we got to have electricity. We got to have connectivity.
Yeah.
So those things, they're not as exciting. And I'll tell you too, my experience with 5G is in any major city where I've traveled or been, where 5G is really supposed to be like that, it's there. I've had poor experiences with 5G. Yeah. And I feel like sometimes there's network connectivity issues because it's going back and forth between 4G and 5G. And that, to me, it's like slowing down everything. Yeah. But how are we really going to leverage 5G for the industrial solutions out there when the consumers aren't even having great experiences with 5G? Right. I think we have a lot of work to do to rely on that. And NB-IoT, for some of those low latency type things and things that are stationary, there's solutions out there. I mean, those things just work. And we don't really, I think that we just have a lot of work to do with 5G. Our expectations are set extremely high because of the hype in the market. But again, we're still running a lot of things on the wired network when it comes to IoT.
Yeah. And you're touching on a really important point in that maybe unintentionally, it's this mindset issue. And the question really here is, how do we countervail what China does, which is they use their economy as an incubation market for technologies, and then they begin to lead with it. They have such huge scale, right? And they have such a huge footprint from an ICT perspective. They're using this as a way of really garnering technological leadership for themselves from a standards perspective, right? Because the gravity that they're able to create in China is tremendous. And this is one of the reasons why so many Western ICT companies, tech companies, look at China as an important market, right? But Europe, the US, we need to really rethink sort of our attitude toward critical infrastructures, right? So if we really consider 5G critical infrastructure or LoRa or any of these technologies, a part of a critical infrastructure play for national competitiveness, you gotta leave?
Yeah, sorry, I have to go.
I thought you were going to say something. You're not allowed to.
No, sorry. But it's a good point. I think we cannot copy China. And actually, China, like 20 years ago, they were just done using some technologies because they were going, they were like jumping over non-used technologies. And now, we are trying to copy them. So that's, we should copy what they did like 20 years ago, just missing some technologies that are not going to work and go to the next one that they are going to use. But sorry that I have to go.
Okay.
See you next week.
That was a wonderful
pleasure,
point.
Andrea.
Yeah. Nice meeting you. I like your point about critical infrastructure, Leonard. Yeah. I really like that because that shifts the conversation.
It does
shift the conversation,
it does. Because if we don't change the way we think about stuff, and then the whole investment model, right, whether it's public or private or a mix of two, we don't come up with something that drives sort of the modernization of infrastructure, whether it's our networks or anything else that runs on top of it. I mean, if we're truly going to be sort of this digital economic leader, 5G is very important technology, right? And forget, some people get stuck on, 5G is not transformative, but maybe not today, but let's call it the mobile wireless or the communications infrastructure. If that's behind, just look at Europe, actually, in certain markets, right? It's not pretty. And for us to be the leaders, look at South Korea. Oh my God. you know, you go there and, you know, what is that? Ookla, the speed test thing doesn't even know what to do with the speeds that it registers, you know? And this has been happening for a long time. And look at that country. They have freaking BTS now.
Oh, yes.
The only way you can get like friggin' BTS is if you have like network speeds and critical infrastructure that speed test cannot just register, can't measure it. It goes, this is just ludicrous. Here, BTS.
And as I probably mentioned before, but I saw an update. Have you noticed
Coldplay.
Have you noticed how the Samsung Flip device, the sales are actually off the charts? And we kind of talked about this before. Samsung attaching themselves to BTS.
Yes, they
gives
did.
them that gives them that hip coolness that Apple has always had, right? Remember, it's not about technology. It's, are you in the cool club? And that's what Samsung needed. And so genius marketing to attach themselves to BTS.
Yeah, but it also helps to have a network that allows you to tap into the benefits of.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're right. People are on subways in Seoul streaming 4K videos underground. You know, it's just off the charts. Like, it's no big deal, you know? Yeah, it's magic over there.
But you know what I'm saying? And that's why I think it's funny when our operators brag about their 5G leadership. And I go, I basically think just like you, Stephanie. I go, well, wait a minute.
I think that we're behind and that we're falling further and further behind. Like, that gap is just, I mean, I know that, you know, we've got to make some major changes. And I know that this infrastructure bill is really focused on how do we really leverage funds to improve connectivity in all the cities and even in rural areas, because we've been talking about rural broadband for how long?
Ever.
And we still have places, especially in Texas, where there's absolutely zero connectivity and people are using satellite internet.
Oof,
and there are businesses that are out there that have offices. How are they operating?
Yeah.
I mean, we are just, I feel like that gap in terms of innovation, the United States for so long was leading, and we just aren't. We're falling behind, and that gap is getting larger.
I want to offer something there, something that I was thinking about. I've always thought, coming from an Eastern Bloc country, right, was born and raised, I always thought that, well, you know, innovation creates advance, which is, you know, it's intuitive, right? But competition, too much competition can also stifle advance. And I think right now, after so many years in the industry, I think in the United States, we kind of suffer from that because we spend so much time on, you know, this technology is better. No, that one is better. No, this one is better. No, that one is better, right? And even we do it over and over and over again, right? And that, you know, stops or slows down investments. And I think that's part of the reason why we're here. Not that I'm advocating for a Chinese model, but in China, they're like, okay, we're going to do NB-IoT in this huge country with so many people and so many square miles, done. You know?
Well, it's like we have a massive ADD. We're hopping all over the place. This is what we're going to focus on today. Oh, tomorrow we're going to focus on this. And it just, there's not enough energy in really coming up with a solid plan that you're sticking with and pushing through on. So we're very myopic in our views. We're just all over the place.
Absolutely. So this is what I feel. And, you know, there's only so many hours in a day and there's only so much energy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a really great point.
That is a good point. You're right. Oh, gosh. We're missing the boat, aren't we? So, you know, when I think of rural broadband and connectivity, I certainly had good luck this summer in farms. You know, I had cellular IoT connectivity in farms where, you know, you never know if you're going to get it. I also know that in September, I was doing a 2-week pilot and I had my laptop on the hood of my car and I was tethered to my phone on T-Mobile. I had 5G coverage and I was able to use the Thunderstruck GUI app on my laptop out in the middle of an apple orchard and so I was happy about that. I've seen some good speed tests where T-Mobile has activated the mid-band stuff that they got from Sprint. like about 650 megabit down. It was good. Not everywhere though. Obviously, it's just baby steps. But then there's this other thing out there. How many of you guys are familiar with WISPs?
Because I'm actually on one right now.
Okay, wireless internet service provider. So that's great. You're actually on a WISP, yes, Stephanie. So then you're legit.
Dude, she's the WISPA queen. What are you talking about, man?
Well, did you know right now, this week in Las Vegas, an event is going on called WISPA Palooza.
Yep.
Yes.
And
Virgilio's there. Your friend.
And I'm gonna be in Vegas this weekend speaking with some of my rural broadband friends, and Bill Pous is gonna be there too, actually.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it's always good to hang out. I'm fascinated by WISPs. I'm fascinated because I am, when I think about how I've kind of gone all in on agriculture over the summer, and I can see the need there. I'm always imagining, I know I can't use cellular for everything because I know there's lots of blank spots out there in rural countryside. And I'm always thinking, well, what if we created a WISP right at the fringe of where there's connectivity or wired connectivity, and then we put up a tower and start beaming high-speed internet into uncovered areas, and then maybe, I don't know, create some kind of star hub and spoke thing out in uncovered areas. I'm just kind of rambling here, but I'm just, because obviously, Stephanie, you're live. You look great here on this video, and you're going over WISP. Someone who wants to become a WISP, it's like if I decided to do that here at my house, I would take I got 250 megabit, but I could increase my cable modem to 1 gig if I wanted to. And then there's all this gear that you buy. I've actually watched some YouTube videos from some of these WISP people, and they show you where to go on Amazon to buy the gear you need to create your own WISP.
Yes.
And then you put an antenna on top of your house, and then the hardware will let you shave off different speeds. And so if I've got 1 gigabit and I want to give 25 megabit to somebody, it lets me shave that off. And then I start beaming it. And I've seen some guys who are like beaming stuff 8 miles across through downtown Phoenix to the other side of town to give service to people. I find that very interesting. I'm totally a neophyte. I don't know a lot about it, but I do find it interesting phenomenon.
Yeah. And then a lot of them will have like their antennas, they're really focused on the economics. Like, do we have enough people that are going to be on this antenna? And does it make sense for us to put this antenna and go get right of way access on this mountain or this hillside on this ranch over here, so we can actually reach these 20 customers?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how they're operating. And I remember when they were out at my house not too long ago, and they were upgrading their antenna, or they were upgrading their equipment. And they were like, oh, when we turn this on, you're going to get like 10 megabytes. It's a huge, they kind of go through those cycles where they're upgrading their antenna or their equipment and their hardware. And if you don't reach out to them, you're still going to be on that same plan you were on. So you kind of need to reach out to them. They're not the best with customer service and reaching out. You have to reach out to them. Yeah. But the solutions that they're offering and the prices it's really inexpensive. And the service is, for the most part, extremely reliable. Every once in a while, I'll need to reset my router, or I'll call them and say, hey, y'all are down, and they don't know they're down.
Right.
Like, oh, sorry. And then they'll text me back, oh, we just did a reset. You should be good now. So that's kind of how their back end is kind of slow. Yeah, they're a little slow on the back end. But other than that, the customer has to tell them that they're down. But they're great though.
Stephanie, what kind of gear do you have on your house? What does all that look like for you to receive their signal? What's it look like?
Okay, I have an antenna on my house, and I have an antenna on a separate building, which we have a separate office, and on that building, and we have hardwired connecting between the two. And then I have a box on the outside of my house. They actually literally drill a hole through our wall, and then the net is connected to the router. And then you can of course buy all these extenders in your house to improve signal or boost the signal, and so that's just basically it. And they'll even bring all of that to you, and then of course I will go out and buy better equipment.
Yeah. So does that antenna look like a TV antenna, or is it like a satellite dish?
Yeah, it looks like it doesn't look like a satellite dish. It's just a straight antenna, and they'll generally put it in a location that's best suited to get great line of sight with the antenna on the hill or wherever it's talking to.
Okay.
And that antenna is much larger, of course. And, they occasionally will have issues with wind, but other than that, it's just really basic line of sight that they need. They had an antenna like not about a mile from here. So I'm about a mile flying wise to the main antenna.
Okay.
Who's your WISP, Stephanie?
It's called Hill Country Internet.
Oh, right.
And it's just, basic. Yeah, one sec, guys.
Surprised it's not called Shootout.
I like that. Hill Country Internet.
Hill Country.
We got some Hill Country Internet.
I'll be honest.
We're going to send you a little bit of wireless connectivity and some barbecue.
Yeah. The pest control people are here right now. So.
Oh, wow.
Excellent.
You got to have pest control for great internet.
Yes. So what about storms? If it's raining, does that cause a problem?
No, it's really mainly the wind. Satellite, when I had satellite internet, of course, that was a problem. But
yeah, that's really interesting. I'm just super curious about it as a way to extend connectivity into uncovered areas for sure.
The other thing that I did with my home is there is a company that's local, and they kind of work throughout San Antonio on the Hill Country, and they will come in and for like $1,000 install a signal booster that works on all carriers. And they went into the roof and put the hardware in, and there's another antenna. I have a lot of antennas on my house. There's another antenna that is the signal booster equipment that boosts and it's all cellular carriers, and it'll boost the signal communication to the wireless towers that are out here. No. So that helps improve. Instead of having to get a picocell or something like that the carriers are kind of directly, they're actually, a lot of them are providing that for free, especially if you call trouble. If you call them and say, hey, your network sucks, and a lot of them will send that to you for free. So that's a good little tip for some of you guys that are having horrible issues. But you can also invest in one, especially if your household has, maybe you have T-Mobile and AT&T, which most people are usually one carrier households. But, getting those signal boosters in your house, if you have, especially like me, I have a metal roof. So sometimes you just don't have as good of signals in the house.
Your coverage map said this, but I live right there and it's total crap. Yeah.
That's the problem I have. It's just really horrid.
For discongestion.
1 megabit per second.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
In the house.
Wow.
And then outside 10, 12, which is, and then, the coverage map says I have 5G.
You're lying.
they're about 1,000 times off, right? What they should be delivering.
Yep. Pretty much. Oh my gosh. That's great.
The struggle, as you say, the struggle is real, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean,
you're in San Diego. You're not in rural Texas.
No, I'm in Qualcomm town. I mean, literally, the headquarters is like, a mile away as the crow flies, or the airplane flies.
As the
I would say
F-14 Tomcat flies at next door.
F-18, yes.
Yes, that's right.
Super Hornets.
The Super Hornets, yes.
Yeah. So
I've been to that base a couple of times and got to sit in the planes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What a treat. Those are awesome planes, and they're extremely loud, and they love to do these passes over the Qualcomm headquarters.
I love it. We're going to do a fly by the tower.
Yeah. Let's shock those 5G people.
This is Maverick requesting a flyby.
There you go.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
So here's the other challenge that I think we have, in particular in the U.S., and I think I've brought it up a few times, is we're so spread out. We don't have the advantage of density, which is conducive to connectivity, right? Scaling out connectivity, making the economics work for us.
Yeah.
And so, the thing is that I think we need to be a hell of a lot more creative. Do you know what I'm saying? I think what Stephanie described to me just sounds hella expensive. And if you have every whatever windy season you have in Texas, which I'm sure there's a lot, you have to worry about your antenna like flying off the top of your roof. And that installation just sounded horrific and costly,
So you bring up a good point. You're talking about expense. I don't know if Stephanie would be willing to share with us what those expenses look like. What does it cost to do all that? What are the monthly costs?
You know what?
If it's not even looking like plumbing, they charge you like...
Installation was free because they want you as a customer.
Yeah.
And then you pay about $75 for the basic package, $100 a month for 5 to 10 megabytes per second. And that's generally on the downstream. On the upstream, you're probably about 3 or 4, which is like just, it's like night and day from a year ago what they had. I think I was about at 2 and 1.
Does that even qualify as broadband?
Upgrading, it's faster. What's that?
Does that even qualify as broadband? That's like really slow.
That's fast for here.
Oh,
now
wow.
I can get speeds up to on good days, I can get it up to like 23, 25 on the downstream. But I'd say I average around 11 or 12 on the downstream is my average every time I kind of go out and test. But that's actually really fast for the hill country in Texas. Yeah. So, when I hear about all you city folks complaining about internet, I just want to slap you around.
Yeah.
I'm going, I only get 1 megabit per second. Oh. Don't you dare.
Wait
a minute, that's on your cell phone though, isn't it?
It's on my cell phone. Yeah. Oh, no. At my home with my fiber to the home thing, I won't say anything because you'll virtually slap me.
Yeah.
Right over there in Bandera, Texas.
I'm soaking this all in because I'm going to create a business around this. This sounds interesting.
So finding all the gaps, Rob?
Yeah. Ag Tech WISP focused on agriculture to light up IoT devices in farms that don't need much bandwidth. And so you would shave off just tiny bits of data. You might, I don't know. I'm trying to think out loud.
That's why the carriers, because when they look at the economics, which is what I was told by AT&T, we will not build out fiber towards your ranch because of the economics. Okay, I understand that. But like you're saying, this ag solution, the economics are so much different than a consumer household that's saying, I need, fast internet. And I'm streaming stuff all day and my kids are too. Yeah. The ag solution doesn't have all of those hefty requirements. Well, it just depends on what it is, but there are some IoT companies out there that are, everyone's really been leaning on LoRa for farming and ag and all that. So, but there's still issues with that. So maybe Rob, you might be onto something, and then there are certain states that this is really an issue, and Texas is definitely one of them. And think about all the other states that have a lot of farming and agricultural.
It's the postal problem. Yep. It is.
You're going postal.
Yeah.
That's why the post office is in the hole every year.
But that's what they're supposed to be in the hole because they're subsidizing people. Otherwise, that little dude in that family in the middle of, Fairbanks, Alaska somewhere, they can't get their mail.
All right, let's start.
I saw an article for I guess it's the postal worker out in Marfa, Texas, that goes out and does all the Big Bend National Park and Marfa and Terlingua, and what his daily route looks like. It was on some Texas show, and I was just amazed how, like, on some of his deliveries,
driving hundreds of miles every day.
I mean, he might drive 2 hours and deliver 2 pieces of mail, and I'm like, oh my God, I never thought about that. Like,
you know, we may have talked about this before, but this is the difference in, do we let this goes back to what Andreea was talking about, competition, the free market, commercial things versus the public good.
That's
government. Right. And so clearly what China has done with NB-IoT was for the public good, and it's an investment. The postal system is an investment for the public good. The Rural Electrification Act that happened decades ago to make sure that every last person in America, no matter how far removed, gets electricity, that was done. I don't know why we can't do that for broadband. That's right. If we leave it to the mobile operators or everybody else, it'll never get done because it's not economically viable. But if the government says you're going to do it, and obviously they'll have to provide the money. And maybe that's what we've talked about with that infrastructure bill right now that's trying to get passed or whatever. Because someone's going to just have to say, whoever, and I'm a big fan. I was like, if you can get electricity, you should be able to get broadband.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the whole thing is so slow. I just capture like 3 things where U.S. is in trouble as we were talking. Healthcare, we didn't talk about it, but of course, healthcare is a disaster. Connectivity and the postal service, right? So what else can go wrong?
There's that, if that's it, wow, you still have a wide field to go. I mean,
let's
on top of all of that stuff.
The upcoming recession that's doing or that's looming over us.
Don't worry about hyperinflation or anything like that. I'm sure that'll never happen. Nah.
Is you guys already getting $4 or $5 a gallon gas and
Yeah.
You're talking about that's normal life.
But Dallas is what
California
in the $3.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's $2.95 here out here.
But that sounds like a dream.
When I was in LA, I was just like, my jaw was on the floor when I saw it was $4.98, and I was like, "What in the? Who's driving?"
You know what? There's a whole lot of people at different strata of income that hits them so hard.
Yep.
It
does.
And I don't know how much the gas is here because I just got back from Europe where you pay that much for a liter. So,
yeah. It's very expensive,
which is insane.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. There's a lot of interesting things going on all at the same time. There's a lot of big confluence of stuff going on, but I love our discussions here. We've talked about so many cool things.
Yeah. No, it's totally great.
This is fun. And now Rob has a whole business idea.
Yeah. But, I want to throw something else out there. We have a spectrum problem as well. So we talk about all this stuff. And Andreea, I'd love your take on this. Stephanie, you mentioned that AT&T doesn't want to come out. They don't want to lay fiber, but then they probably don't even want to put up base stations or cell sites there either, right?
Yeah, they actually have.
Okay, so they have, but they might be a little bit.
Yeah.
Right, but oddly, for your home internet, you're not using AT&T or Verizon or any of these guys for your services, right? Or
no, that's only used when the WISPA goes out and they're down. I will turn my phone on as a hotspot and use it.
And does it work? What do you?
Yes, it does. It's just not as. It's just very slow, and you got to kind of like kick.
Yeah. Like now, she's frozen.
So, Andreea, who's our friend? He worked for Ericsson. He's from Brazil. He was in Dallas. He left. He is a big WISP guy. Nico. Yes. Nico. He's a total WISP guy.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
He's at Mavenir now.
He's passionate about this.
Stuff,
right? He's totally passionate. So.
He's also a big Open RAN guy.
But you know what? We should probably have him on to talk about all that stuff.
I agree.
I'm sure he'll love it. So let's arrange that for maybe next week. I'm sure he'll jump on, no problem. it'd be great.
Yeah.
Discussion. We'll talk about.
We need to hear every perspective, right?
Yeah, and if you don't mind having both of us, I'd love to.
Yeah, no, I think that's good because I think he's in Vegas at Wispapalooza.
He is in Vegas, yeah.
Yeah. I'm serious. I think this is interesting. I think I watched this one video and the guy said, here's the 3 tiers of cost of gear you could buy to start your own Wisp on Amazon, good, better, best. I'll start off, I'll buy the cheap stuff and just try to get something working between my house and some other endpoint down the street just to test it out. But then you want to capture it in an area with no coverage. And then I want to spray out something else to get to low power devices, maybe Bluetooth. I don't know, something else. Because the devices need to last a long time on battery and they need to stay out there, but maybe they just use something that is just enough connectivity just to reach some kind of hub or something. I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, you know what? But it doesn't have to be 10 years. I think a lot of people get fixated on 10 years. It's like up to 10 years for anything.
Yeah.
And then but the thing is that you just have to look at the application, the overall economics of the entire solution and how much does an extra truck roll, over a course of 10 years really, does it really matter, right?
Yeah. So this device that we built, this is co-developed with Ericsson and Nordic Semiconductor. And this is what we used this summer. And there you go. And I would, we could optimize the hell out of our packets that we were sending and the frequency and how we did it. Our unoptimized, crappy, bloated stuff, we got about a month on this. We could optimize it, and I know we could push this out to a few months for sure.
Yeah. Maybe that's good enough. And that'll be great business for the plumber, the IoT plumber to go on.
NB-IoT device?
Yeah, what's the problem?
This does both. It's NB-IoT and LTE-M.
LTE-M, okay.
It's, Cat M1. And so in my case, though, I was using the Cat M1 side of the deal because I'm using internet protocol. I'm developing just like, and that's, I have a whole other view on NB-IoT versus LTE-M that says developers who run the show develop for servers, PCs, smartphones, and guess what? There's something that's similar to all of them. And they don't even think about it. They don't go, oh, I use IP networking. But that's what they all use. And it just comes for free. If you tell them I have to do some bizarre thing like you have to do for LoRa or NB-IoT, that's a learning curve. It's not natural, and it's unfamiliar. And so when I think about why LTE-M might win over NB-IoT, it's familiarity. It's developers already know how to work with that. Right. It roams. It just works,
But where? And the danger is exactly that, is if you assume that all the developers use it and there isn't a massive ecosystem or a community of developers in China that are going to be used to NB-IoT. And what everyone is doing is they're simplifying everything. They're wrapping everything so that it's very easily consumable, and you're abstracting the network complexity away from the developer, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm just putting that out there because when we're comfortable with our assumptions, that's when we wake up the next morning and find out, oh, wait a minute, how did NB-IoT take over the world? Do you know what I'm saying?
I think this is a difference between a command and control economy, government like China, where they say, we're going to do this and you're all going to do it this way. And that's fine. If I'm talking about the free market and what people might want to do or whatever, I'm always just thinking about friction in marketplaces. Yeah. And so here's another one. So having that Grove connector so you can extend sensors. Yeah, it's kind of a thing. Hey, I know it's
supposed to be wireless, man.
Who is that weirdo on an IoT Coffee Talk who's actually doing IoT? Stop that! Well, oh, God!
I think, Stephanie, I think we need to pack our bags and go visit Rob in Washington State and go to some farms and
wineries.
things, and
Got the wine first.
And there's something called Walla Walla there where you visit. And
I'm down. Let's go.
I'm not joking, by the way.
I think you're right. So when you're using NB-IoT or LoRa, do you know what you have to do? You have to have a gateway. And you know why? It's because it's not using internet protocol. It's using some bizarro thing like you're doing something over a COM port. That's like we used to do a million years ago. And so it has to translate that bizarro crap into internet protocol stuff that the rest of the world understands. When I'm doing LTE-M from this, I go directly to my cloud and I don't have to pass go or collect $200. So anyway, it's just stuff to think about. But in the end, cost is everything.
We need to do a whole show on like the dynamics and the impact of the developer community to the IoT world and how they're driving what they're doing and the needs that they have are driving the direction of some of the things that are happening in this space, because we tend to focus so heavily on the operators, on the hardware providers, the software, the platform. But what about these developers that are actually creating?
They're the ones who are building the whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
IoT is software.
Yeah.
Connectivity is just one part of it, but it's mostly about software. On the device, on the server, all the stuff, all the value, all comes from software. And so that's who's driving the whole ecosystem primarily as developers. And so you need to make it easy for them, right? So that they use your stuff versus somebody else's, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Who wants to take us out? I'm out of coffee.
Well, I'm here with Cowboy Troy.
Somebody with a cowboy hat.
Yes. I don't know. Thanks so much for everyone coming to our bar here in Bandera, Texas.
Cheers.
Stephanie bought the whole bar around a crown and everyone's getting down in this town and never going to be the same. And so what I want you to do is saddle up your horse and ride into the city. And I want you to go to www.iotcoffeetalk.com and check us out. It's going to redirect you to that YouTube's. Maybe you've heard of it. It's kind of like TikTok. You're going to get a lot of knowledge dropped on you. It's going to be awesome. So please check us out, subscribe, click that little bell on there so that you get notified. A bunch of our old stuff has actually been uploaded to those podcast things. I need to upload a bunch of other things too. That's my bad. But you can listen to us when you're driving your pickup truck and going out to feed the cattle and stuff like that. And maybe you feed the deer. Maybe you have an automated deer feeder or something like that. Probably have something like that. Or do you have to put the blocks that you put out there out in the pasture? So you can listen to us on the podcast when you're driving around in your old pickup truck, 3 on a tree. And maybe you'll get to watch this over some kind of WISP connection. Who knows? We are so glad to have you here. And I'm taking Texas everywhere I go with me. So thanks so much and we hope to see you next week. And we're out.
Awesome. All right. Take care, guys. Bye.